What happens if Lake Mead runs so low that water can't flow through Hoover Dam? And what does a legal decision in Nevada involving its biggest lithium mine mean for ranchers fighting to keep their water rights? This week's water news takes us from high-stakes battles in the desert to long-term survival for millions who depend on the Colorado River. But before we dive into those headlines, let's start in California, where a local community is making big changes to protect its drinking water and its iconic Joshua trees. Yucca Valley has relied on septic tanks for decades, but those tanks are leaking into groundwater, the community's only drinking water source. Last week, the California Department of Fish and Wildlife approved a permit for a major sewer project that will replace thousands of septic tanks with a modern system. But there's a twist. The project runs through habitat for California's iconic Joshua trees. Thanks to the Western Joshua Tree Conservation Act, the High Desert Water District had to get special approval to move forward. The permit requires strict protections for the trees while still letting homeowners connect to the sewer at reduced costs. Officials say it's a win-win for clean water and conservation. In northern Nevada, one of the state's most heated water disputes has finally ended. Rancher Edward Bartell had been battling Lithium, Nevada over groundwater pumping for the Thacker Pass lithium mine, one of the largest planned mines in the nation. After years in court, both sides have settled. Lithium, Nevada will buy 2 of Bartell's water rights, and Bartell and future landowners agree not to challenge the mine's operations. The settlement clears a major hurdle for the project, but it also highlights growing concerns about how big mining operations will affect rural water supplies across Nevada. Back in California, state water managers released their first ever state water project adaptation strategy. This is the 700-mile system that delivers water to 27 million people and nearly 1 million acres of farmland. With hotter temperatures, longer droughts, rising seas, and stronger storms on the horizon, the plan lays out how California will adapt. The centerpiece is the Delta Conveyance Project, a tunnel system designed to keep water flowing even if levees fail or an earthquake hits. Other strategies include repairing the sinking California aqueduct, using advanced forecasting to store more water safely, adding up to 2 million acre-feet of storage south of the delta, and restoring wetlands. Officials stress that no single solution will work, but together, these strategies could keep water flowing to communities, including millions of disadvantaged residents who rely on the project. In Utah, a new University of Utah study shows just how much humans have reshaped the Great Salt Lake. Sediment samples reveal that since the 1800s, farming and irrigation changed the lake's carbon balance, and a railroad causeway built in 1959 permanently altered water flow. The lake now shows chemical patterns not seen in thousands of years of natural history. Scientists say the changes highlight how vulnerable saline lakes are, and they serve as a warning for today's management decisions. Turning to New Mexico, July's deadly monsoon floods continue to leave scars. 3 people, including 2 children, died in Ruidoso, and more than 100 homes were destroyed in Doña Ana County. FEMA has now expanded disaster aid to cover residents, tribal communities, and local governments in Doña Ana, Otero, and Lincoln counties, along with the Mescalero Apache Nation. Federal funds will help rebuild homes, bridges, sewer systems, and water infrastructure. Now to Lake Mead, the nation's largest reservoir. There's been a lot of talk about dead pool, the point where water falls so low it cannot flow through Hoover Dam. That happens at 895 feet, and if it were to occur, water deliveries to Arizona, Nevada, and California would stop. Hoover Dam's power production would shut down, and farms from Imperial Valley to tribal lands in Arizona would be left dry. Thankfully, federal forecasts show Lake Mead won't hit dead pool within the next 2 years. The Bureau of Reclamation forecasts levels between 1,050 and 1,075 feet on January 1, 2026, well above that critical threshold. But shortages are still looming. Heavy cutbacks are likely by mid-2026, with possible extreme shortages by 2027 if conditions worsen. Dead pool remains a theoretical worst case, but it's a reminder of how fragile the system has become. On Colorado's west slope, the Colorado River District has adopted a new 5-year strategic plan. The district serves as a watchdog for western Colorado's water and will now focus on 3 big goals: protecting communities through locally driven projects, strengthening its role as a trusted source of water data, and ensuring the West Slope has a strong voice in interstate negotiations, especially as new operating rules for Lake Powell and Lake Mead are being developed. The plan also builds on its community funding partnership, which has already invested nearly $30 million in local projects. Meanwhile, in Arizona, more than 20 mayors from Phoenix to small towns like Florence and Cave Creek have joined forces to form the Coalition for Protecting Arizona's Lifeline. Their mission: defend Arizona's share of the Colorado River, delivered through the 336-mile Central Arizona Project Canal. Mayors stressed that losing CAP water would devastate cities, economies, and even national security. They also highlighted Arizona's record of conservation, noting that per-person water use is lower today than decades ago despite rapid growth. The coalition has launched a new website to educate residents and rally public support. Finally, the U.S. Drought Monitor shows drought expanded across much of the West this past week. Hotter-than-average temperatures and limited rainfall worsened conditions in Arizona, New Mexico, Utah, and Colorado. Fires are spreading, including the Dragon Bravo fire in Arizona at over 145,000 acres, the Gifford Fire in California at 130,000 acres, and the Lee Fire in Colorado, already one of the largest in the state's history. While some parts of the Midwest and Southeast got heavy rain, much of the Colorado River Basin remains locked in severe drought, keeping water supplies under intense stress. That's your Colorado River Basin water news for the week of August 18th through August 23. From droughts to floods, from local communities to interstate battles, water is shaping the future of the West every single day. What story stood out to you most this week? Drop a comment below, share this video with others who care about water, and don't forget to subscribe for next week's update. Visit us at western-water.com for daily news stories and links to the resources mentioned in this video.